Governor Phil Scott made a visit to the North Bennington Village School Monday morning, one of the state's town academies, or independent schools that function much like a public school would. In Manchester, Byrne-Burton Academy is set up in a similar way. The village school was a public elementary school serving students in elementary and middle school grades until about 4 years ago, when a local initiative finally succeeded in completing the conversion from a public school to an independent one. Governor Scott toured the school and visited several classes before taking questions from some of the older students at an assembly.
But I think we have a lot to look forward to if we do all the right things. We have a great legislative contingency here. Some of them are here in the room now. Senator Campion, Senator Sears.
He's the little one in the back.
Yeah, in the back.
The next question is from Alexia in 4th grade. Is it hard and frustrating to be a leader?
Is it hard and frustrating to be a leader? There are some days when you wonder why you're doing what you're doing.
If you were governor of any other state, what state would it be and why?
If I was governor of any other state, I've never considered that. I was born here in Vermont.
The governor's visit came against a background when school choice and the place independent schools occupy in the Vermont educational landscape has been a subject of discussion both in Montpelier and across the state, as the State Board of Education has grappled with rewriting the rules around public monetary support for independent schools. After a large and well-attended meeting in Manchester last December held at Byrne-Burton, more clarity around the proposed rewrite has narrowed down some of the concerns. The village school's head of school, Tim Newbold, addressed some of those issues after the governor's visit.
I think we're moving in the right direction. I feel like, from what I've heard from Governor Scott and others, is that some of the rule changes they talked about are going to be toned down, potentially changed drastically in some ways. The other piece, though, is still Act 46 and what that's going to be. Are they going to change it a little bit? Are they going to change the timeline of it? And is there a possibility for it expanding so that our little school is not orphaned from others? And if there's the possibility that we can gain choice in the upper levels, I think the community would really respond well to that.
On Act 46, the village school is still searching for a dance partner or a companion school district that they could align with to meet the goals of the Education Governance Statute enacted in 2015. It encourages districts to merge and consolidate. But the village school, which before it went independent was part of the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union, centered in Bennington, faces some tough choices with no obvious schools or school districts to align with. Meanwhile, Governor Scott also made news last week with his budget address, where he laid out the spending priorities he hopes the state legislature, which is overwhelmingly controlled by Democrats, will follow. Scott, a Republican, suggested that the state should devote more resources to early education and pre-kindergarten services, as well as giving more help to state colleges. And he emphasized that the state, with a steadily declining number of students, can't go on spending more and more money each year to educate fewer and fewer students. Senator Dick Sears of Bennington commented on the governor's budget proposal after Scott's visit to the village school ended.
I think he started an important conversation, but I can't support his plan. I think that, we need to look at what the impact would be of moving all those things into the education fund, particularly on the property tax. And that's my biggest concern, is what it does to the property tax if you don't fully fund the teachers' retirement and other components of it. So we need to look very carefully at it, but I think it's an important conversation. We're 20,000 fewer kids and spending more.
For the GNET TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.